Hello, and welcome to the Brenton Peck Podcast. My guest today is LaRita Schandorff, the director of Nampa Bike Project. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what inspired you to start Nampa Bike Project?
Well, it was interesting. I dug back through my archives and realized that I've been at this really for 20 years, not the bike project specifically, but as a bike advocate, kind of started in 2005, and we moved here in 92. After 7 or 8 years, I realized we weren't seeing any. There was a lot of growth at the time. Nampa was about 25,000, if you can imagine that, but it was starting to boom, and we came from a college town where a lot of people used bikes, and our family enjoyed that. And so I kept thinking, they keep putting new roads down. I'll see something eventually, and we didn't see anything. And there was one, I think at the time, there was one bike route sign, and it was on 12th, if you can imagine that. 12th is, even back then in 99, it was not where you would want to ride a bike for sure. And it was only about 4 feet off the ground. So it was like improperly installed and in a bad place and everything. And so I went to the city council and I said, do you realize this sign's out there and it's all by itself and it doesn't make any sense? So in 2005, I just started getting involved and asking a lot of questions, trying to find out what the process is for making these kinds of things happen. And thinking, we moved from a university town that had a lot of hills. We're in a flat town here. And I thought, why don't we see more bicycles? And so I just asked a lot of questions and got really involved. As I look back at my history, I realized in 2005, I started driving over to Boise. I did some Googling and found out there was a group called Treasure Valley Cycling Alliance. And that group was mostly focused on Boise, but they were the only organization around I knew anything about. And Nampa certainly didn't have a bicycle and pedestrian group at all. And so I started meeting with these people, and they were very supportive and said, well, we don't do a lot of stuff in Canyon County, but we'd like to. And so they offered to create a Canyon County chapter of Treasure Valley Cycling Alliance. I thought, this is Treasure Valley. How come you're not including, the Canyon County? But they lived in Boise, and they were very Boise focused. So, in fact, I looked back at my notes from meeting with that group, and I stumbled across a meeting, I think it was in June of 2005 or 6, where we sat and listened to somebody present this idea of a bike project in Boise. So it wasn't Jimmy Halliburton, it was his partner, I think at the time, that was working on this idea with him. So I was even there when that started. Nice. And so I learned a lot from those guys. And to be part of that group, you were required to get certified through the League of American Bicyclists. The League is a national organization that was started a long time ago, and it trains people in how to do how to ride in traffic, basically. And so I went through that certification, started doing some presentations other places. I was working at Northwest Nazarene University at the time, and we did a bike and walk to work day for a few years.
Nice.
And got a lot of support from the Parks Department in Nampa. And somewhere in there, I started Bike Walk Nampa just as an advocacy group. We would meet monthly and at Flying M, and kind of built the coalition through there, So that was happening in 06, 07, kind of 08. It looks like I really got established and created a website and made Bike Walk Nampa an official organization to do presentations at City Council and just advocate for getting more pathways created in the city. And so I've been working on this stuff for a long time. When I retired, I thought, I've got more time now, and I'm ready to do something that's a little more hands-on. Because in our work, we would go to like health fairs and things like that, encourage people to bike and walk for health reasons, obviously. And people would come up and either they wanted to donate bikes to us, or they wanted to know if they could get a bike from us because they'd had no transportation. And we've not for a long time had a good bus system in Nampa, but through those events, I became aware of the need in the city for people that either can't afford a car right now. According to the AAA, it costs about $9,000 a year to own and operate a car. By the time you pay the insurance and the fuel, and you buy the car and registration, all of that, and then you get up one morning and you try to go to work and the car is not working, and you're set back $1,500, and it just isn't there. So we have a good number of people in Nampa and Boise too, in any community that just can't simply rely 100% on a car.
Yeah.
And yet our cities tend to be pretty focused on car transportation. So
are you guys associated with Boise Bike Project? Are those like sister organizations?
Mm-hmm. That's a question we get asked a lot. And when I did finally create the Nampa Bicycle Project, when I wanted to do something a little more hands-on, I thought, well, I'll call it the Nampa Bicycle Project because BBP was already established. And I thought if I call it that, people will know immediately what our purpose and mission is. And that has been pretty helpful. Whether we're connected or not is kind of a difficult question to answer. We certainly help each other out. Early in the bike project's process, when we were first established in 2019, I would order locks and lights and supplies, bike tubes, things like that through them, because as an official retailer, they had access to wholesale stuff. So they've been very supportive in that way. I took a group over when we started the Nampa Bicycle Project, and Jimmy was great. Jimmy Halliburton, the director at the time, was really good at saying, this is how it works. This is what you need every month, this is how we function. This is our shop. And this is how we roll. So that was very helpful to help us cast a vision and figure out how to get it organized.
Nice.
Yeah.
So kind of like a close-knit community, but not organizational structurally connected.
Not officially, no. Yeah.
Okay. Going back a little bit, you mentioned like trying to get more bike paths or things like that. Obviously, my dad was Air Force and he traveled a lot. It seems like overseas, a lot of the cities are laid out a lot more with bike travel in mind. I'm curious, have you looked at some of their models for planning to recommend that for like Nampa?
Definitely. And well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. We there was a point at which, to kind of back things up a little bit again in the history, Bike Walk Nampa became the Nampa Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Group, and it became an official group under Mayor Tom Dale, who was connected to the city such that city engineers, and we began to be able to speak into that process. As I ask a lot of those questions about where those decisions are made, I learned that when you see a road project begin to happen and earth moving and lines being painted, when a project gets to that point, it's probably been in the pipeline for maybe 4 or 5 years. So the decision of whether to make a bike lane on that road or whether to acknowledge that there's a trail crossing there and we need some pedestrian enhancements, that all has to happen back here. And so out of the Bike Ped Citizens Advisory Group, we were able to create a bicycle pedestrian master plan. And that's the other thing you need in order to create pathways and create any kind of infrastructure. The first question that's always asked is, do you have a plan? And money follows plans, but not the other way around.
Yes.
So once you have a plan. So when we created, your question is whether we'd looked at any other models, and we certainly did. We took a group of a couple of people from Nampa City staff and from City Council at the time. I don't think the mayor at that time went, but Public Works Director. We took a group to Boulder, Colorado, as we were creating that first master plan. And we chose Boulder because it was about the same size as Nampa at the time. The big difference between Boulder and here is that they are restricted by the mountains, and so they don't have the luxury that we do of all of this agricultural land around us to just keep expanding, keep making roads wider and stuff. So they have a very robust public transit system and pathway system. They were doing bike share early on, before a lot of cities were. And they have a university there. So yeah, we looked at that and got a lot of good ideas from that. Internationally, probably not so much. We also learned a lot from Portland. Portland was an early adopter of a lot of good bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. So we looked at cities in the U.S., not so much internationally, but yeah. And I'm excited to say that right now we have somebody representing bicycle and pedestrian issues that's on the Transportation Advisory Group. He's a former NNU student, but he lived in China from the age of 6 to 18. So I'm excited to hear what kind of ideas he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned an interesting side to me. You hear Nampa Bike Project and you don't necessarily think pedestrians, but you're talking about infrastructure both for biking and for pedestrian traffic. Like, how does that all intermix?
Yeah. Well, they just really go hand in hand. Somebody early on said, if you build a city so that a 10-year-old can get around, it's good for everybody. So, and you have people in wheelchairs that need ramps and that sort of thing. But I think we kind of look at them together. They're often addressed as a unit, or at the same time anyway, when infrastructure is being built in a community, because these are what are called vulnerable users. These are people that don't have that, 2,000 pounds of steel around them going down the road. You know, they need to get around, but if they encounter a vehicle of any kind, they're going to lose. Yeah. And so we do look at those things together. In the state of Idaho, you're allowed to ride on the sidewalks with a bicycle, but through my training with the League of American Bicyclists, I learned that that's not your safest way to go. You've got people coming in and out of driveways, and especially if you're going against traffic. But I know kids will probably be on the sidewalk. In the city of Nampa, we have a special ordinance in downtown, and there is an area that's been outlined around downtown, and you will be ticketed in the city of Nampa if you're on the sidewalk on a bicycle, or maybe even a skateboard, I'm not sure. But obviously the store owners don't want their patrons walking out onto the sidewalk in downtown Nampa and getting flattened by a bicycle.
Yeah.
So we try to keep the law enforcement would rather bicycles be out in the street. Our frustration with that law, my frustration is that while that's the case, we don't provide a safe space for bicycles out on the street. The cars are frontward parking. If they backed into spaces, they would be able to see a bicycle coming by before they pulled out. And actually backing in parking, people, I don't know, in Canyon County are horrified by it. It seems like, but I've seen it in resort cities, Sun Valley, places like that, and parking out in the middle. When you back your car in, the doors open up and your passengers walk towards the sidewalk.
Yep.
When you front in with a car, the doors open up and they walk out into traffic before they get up to the sidewalk.
Yep.
The other thing is if you backed in, you'd be able to load and unload your trunk with your purchases much easier. So if we could just change that one little thing, but that has been a real uphill battle in the city of Nampa. Lots of signs up that say don't back in. But I'm fine with I understand why they don't want bicycles on the sidewalk, but if you're going to have them out in the street, make it safe for bicycles in the street then.
Yes.
Seems like there'd be a way we could do that. But that's one of the things I'm still working on.
Yeah. I don't remember what state I was living in, but I know there was at least one place that it was not legal for bikes to ride on the sidewalk at all. It was only on the street. And of course, like anything, nobody's going to abide like that 100% of the time. Yeah. So you had bikes on the sidewalks. But the reason I brought up like internationally is it seems almost you have to plan the city from the start for more pedestrian bike traffic. And it seems like at least in Idaho, we're adding on bikes as an afterthought. So you don't have room for some of those bike lanes. Traffic signals and intersections are not designed for it. And putting it on as an afterthought almost in some places has made it feel more dangerous than helpful in the way they've implemented it.
Very good point. Yeah. Yeah. We are trying to create this environment retrospectively, and it is difficult, very difficult. People don't want to give up their right-of-way in front of their house. What the city of Nampa is moving towards at this point, when new infrastructure is built for new development, or when a road is rebuilt and widened up, what they're trying to do is put in what is called a side path, and that is a 10-foot wide sidewalk. So, yeah, I tell people it's a sidewalk. It's designed for pedestrians, and if you're a bicycle, technically, you should be walking your bike on the sidewalk. Of course, kids heading to school, if they were walking, they'd walk. If they got a bike with them, they want to be on it, unless they're with a group of friends. So you're in pedestrian space, and so you certainly, as a bicyclist, have to be aware of that as you're traveling on a road. Midland is a good example where I think we're probably in the future, if anything is done there on Midland, and it really needs to be done because you have multiple schools, you have churches, you have lots of reasons why people are walking and biking on that road, and there's a lot of traffic, and it's getting worse. So I think when the day comes, I think if they do rebuild that, it's probably going to go with that 10-foot wide side path. And sometimes that will only be on one side, not both. So we have to make compromises, have to do what you can, where you can. And we have done a good job in the city of Nampa, I think, of trying to identify places where we can create greenbelt travel.
Yep.
And that's for biking and walking both. But of course, if you're bicycling, you should practice good etiquette on the pathway. And young people especially don't always realize that. But I know when I'm walking my dog, I appreciate it when somebody yells out, "On your left."
Yes.
That really helps. But so sometimes, and we have a bike a pathway map that you can refer to. We give them out with bicycles that we give away. And a lot of those pathways have tended to be along waterways or canals, some of them that have been tiled over. One thing that we've been able to accomplish in those last 20 years is that now the city of Nampa requires a developer to build that pathway section if on the pathway master plan, the bike and pedestrian master plan, if it includes, if the property they're developing includes any section of what's on the master plan, that developer's required to put that in.
That section in.
So that's helpful. We don't have to come up with grant funding or squeeze it out of transportation funding anywhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about green belts because it seems a lot of them are more meant as a scenic thing, not necessarily a direct mode of transportation between 2 points.
Right.
So is there like a way to use green belts kind of as a model to add a little more transportation paths throughout?
Yeah. When our group worked with the Parks Department when they created that map, and we kind of divided the city up into fourths and said, okay, in this quarter of the city, we've got a trail from here to here. And usually those trails tend to run diagonally, not in a grid, which is not helpful for transportation purposes. But sometimes they can get you they can link you between your neighborhood and maybe an arterial that has a bike path on it, or a bike lane, or a shared lane. A shared lane is really kind of confusing to people sometimes, but a shared lane, we're not putting as many of those in because they're kind of a false sense of security. A shared lane is one in which there is a bike symbol in the middle of the driving lane, and it's usually on a road where you have 5 lanes. And so drivers have an option of going around that bicyclist. But in the League of American Bicyclists training, you're taught to stay out where you're seen. So as a bicyclist, you're supposed to stay as far to the right as possible. But the law says as is reasonable. If there's not trash, if there's not a bunch of glass, if there's boxes or something in the gutter, between you and the gutter, then obviously you've got to be out there. But you're always, and if there's parked cars, that's another issue. You don't want to be in what's called the door zone. Yep. If there's a curb and there's parking along the curb, you got to always be aware that door may come swinging open and wipe you off your bike.
Yeah.
So you want to stay at least 3 feet out, and you've probably seen the 3-foot law in some places, like Boise. You might see some signage that says, you should stay 3 feet away from a bicyclist. And that's partly why. There's also trucks with big mirrors and RVs and stuff. But I forgot what you asked me. The pathways and how they can be used for transportation. Yeah. Yeah. And another kind of challenge with pathways is that they're considered part of the park system. They're considered a linear park.
Okay.
And which is great. Cities can include that in their parks to people ratios when they're trying to make sure they've got enough. So there's some motivation there to create and keep building more pathways. But because they're parks, at dusk, you're not supposed to be on them. Mm-hmm. And of course, people are working past dusk, past sundown, sometimes late at night. So that's a little bit problematic. I think if you were on a trail getting home from work at 3 a.m. on a bike and you got stopped by somebody, I think you could make a case for needing to be there.
Yeah. Is it similar law for before dawn?
I don't know what the morning number is. I just know dusk is... But it's probably from dawn to dusk, yeah.
I would imagine.
I mean, from dusk to dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I asked that because I remember riding my bike to work in Boise, and it was either go down State Street or you could take the greenbelt along the Boise River there.
Yeah.
And the greenbelt's far preferable to ride on.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I'd go in at 5 in the morning, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've learned a lot from Boise too, of course, in terms of infrastructure. They do have an advantage in that they have a river to build along.
Yes. But
they have kind of started there and built out from there and said, okay, we've got this bike path, this trail pathway in that links all these parts of the city, but we need more than that. And that's why we need bike lanes and pedestrian crossings and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I think about bikes as a mode of transportation, one of the things that comes to mind is, I forget what the name of the store was. Was it Kroger? The one on 12th that closed down.
Yeah.
And so one of the concerns for a while was, there's a lot of people that don't have vehicles that was the only thing they could walk to get groceries and stuff. And so bikes are a way to extend your transportation range a bit to be able to do some of those things.
Yeah.
So when you guys plan some of these routes, is that with things like grocery stores in mind or maybe a laundromat or some of those things you need to get to?
Absolutely. Yeah. We try to link schools and parks first, of course. Definitely. There's some improvements that are being looked at right now for North Nampa. And part of that is because a lot of the people in this particular area of North Nampa, their main grocery store is Fred Meyer, which is over the tracks there.
Yep.
First Street North and next to Burger King there on Caldwell Boulevard. So, yeah, that's definitely a consideration.
I was trying to think through who the most likely bike riders are, and the first thing that comes to mind, of course, is kids just going to the park. So I would imagine that's why you're prioritizing parks first, safety of kids and routes for that. Is there a sense of like who tends to have a preference towards riding? Not necessarily like you might think economically, like you brought up the cost of operating a car, but is there another indicator of whether someone's going to want to ride a bike? You also brought up like looking to be healthy, but I've known people that they ride bikes just because that's their sport interest. They go ride long distance.
Right.
Is there anything that draws people in more?
Fuel prices.
Yes.
You saw a lot of people on bikes during COVID to get outside. But I think fuel prices and frankly, sometimes I can get to. I live in a neighborhood next to Nampa High, so I'm close to Wilson Pathway.
Yeah.
I can ride my bike. Given the traffic now on 12th Avenue, I can ride my bike the half mile or mile it is to Walmart or to a restaurant on 12th. I can get there faster on my bike than I would in a car. So you park right up next to the building if you have a way to carry things. So convenience to some degree, yeah. I know young adults that have purchased homes near downtown Nampa because they don't want to have to own a car. Yeah, so I think aside from the health aspect of it, I think the economy.
Yep.
Yeah, and the need to own a second vehicle if your spouse is working, something like that. That can be a big savings.
Yes.
Yeah, big savings.
I was a little curious if it's also somewhat tied to like housing, because I noticed a lot more people that are in apartments. Okay, now I don't have to leave something out on the street. Parking's notoriously horrendous in apartment lots, but I can take my bike up to my apartment with me. But then partnered kind of with that, the reason I asked a little bit about some of the infrastructure for bikes like in the cities is I think of parking garages. And some of them I've noticed, at least in Boise, I haven't looked around here, have started creating like a separate room where just like you can pay monthly or something for a key card access to a parking garage, they've created a room so you can have a lockup space for bikes. Is that something we've looked at for like Nampa?
I tried to get them to put in, there's kind of a dead corner in the downtown Nampa parking garage. When they built that parking garage, we tried to get them to use one of those dead corners in the garage where you can't even park, to put bicycle parking in the garage. I don't know why, but they weren't willing to do it. We even looked at something called, I don't remember the name of it now, but there's a company that makes a shell that just you can flip it up, park your bike in it, and flip the shell over the bike, and it keeps the bike dry and safe and till you come back to it. And so we looked at the cost of some of those, but the decision didn't go our way. I don't know exactly why, but yeah. But definitely, you brought up a very good point. Bike parking is a huge issue. And I do think it would encourage people to ride more if they knew when they got there, there'd be a place to park. A member of our group, when the Family Dollar store was built in North Nampa on 11th there, they built that, and talk about riding and being able to get to stuff easily. The Family Dollar, when Paul's Market is on the north side. When that closed down, that part of the city, North Nampa, was a food desert. I mean, there was nothing there. And the Family Dollar certainly doesn't have fresh food, but it's a huge asset to people that are living on that side. No bicycle parking was there, none. So somebody contacted the owner and got a bike rack put in.
Nice.
And in the master plan, there are recommendations for the kind of rack that a business should put in. I don't think it's a requirement for people, for developers who are building high density housing. I don't think it's required they put in bicycle parking, but it is recommended. And I know the people that work with planning and zoning and the design review, they are very in favor of that. So I think they encourage developers to think about that when they put in their housing. But but there definitely needs to be a place to lock up and have it be secure.
Yeah.
And I've had people not understand why that's such a big deal. When it is your transportation, you want to know it's going to be there when you get out of the store.
Yes.
And sometimes it gets put in, and it gets put in back by the garbage dump, out of sight. You want to be able to see your bike. You want it to be where it's well lit and where people are walking past so there's some eyes on the space. Yeah.
What I envision a little bit is almost like there's a couple companies downtown that actually have on the bottom floor of a couple of the buildings, it's completely locked. So key card access for the employees that work there. And you go in and you wheel your bike in, and then it folds up to lift it vertical.
I love it.
And it's all in locked rooms. So I'm almost, if you're putting in a big apartment complex, which Nampa's been putting in a bunch of apartments, I almost envision some sort of room. You're a tenant there, so you could have key card access. It's one extra room that's not going to be a lot of hard work to maintain, but then people have a protected spot for their bikes. Because one of the issues I've seen is like in apartments, they want stairwells clear. Don't put stuff underneath the stairs.
Right.
Well, if you're on the third floor, where are you going to put your bike? You don't want to carry your bike up 3 flights of steps every time. But you can't put it under the stairwell, but there's no bike racks anywhere. They don't want you chaining it to a light post. So it's like,
or a tree.
Yeah. So what do you do with it? But if you had a nice clean space, that keeps the aesthetics of the building that they want, where they're put away. It keeps the bicycles safe, where, only the tenants are going to have their bikes. And you can still even have, like the ones downtown, you wheel them in, they lock up, but you can still have your own lock to each bike stall individually.
I love that. Why don't you get on the Planning and Zoning Commission? Why don't you get on the Development Review Board? Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and really, it's a fraction of the cost of providing parking for cars. A fraction, and I think it would change the culture. I do, because and as a business. I don't know. Somewhere people got the idea that if you're on a bike, you're not buying things, and that's just not true.
No.
You have ways to carry things. There's trailers. There's backpacks. Yeah, you can. Just because you're on a bicycle doesn't mean you're not spending money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember growing up as a kid, it seemed to me the only places that had bike racks were places kids were going to go. So the corner store always had a bike rack.
Oh, yeah.
But those also tended to be places that seemed a little bit out of the way. Because I'm thinking of Washington specifically. Like we were in a little town called Yelm. And so we were technically outside of city limits, but I'd ride my bike out back into the corner store. And it's places like that would have a bike rack, but then everywhere else wouldn't. It's like, where can we assume a kid's going to go? We'll have a bike rack there because we don't want them just throwing them down on the sidewalk. But they don't make those same considerations that adults actually ride bikes too.
Yeah, yeah. I stood in the old Paul's Market on the north side before they closed. And I was standing there when a teenager rolled his bike into the store and parked it near the front door because they had no bike rack. And I saw the manager ask him to take it out of the store and leave it out front without, and he didn't have a lock at the time. And I just thought, oh, we've got to do something about this.
Yeah. And I get it to a degree.
Yeah.
Like you think of kids and you think, oh, it's probably just a cheap bike. But to the kids,
important to them. Yeah.
Yeah. And some of them invest a lot. Like I remember my cousin, they had bought actually a bike repair shop for a little while. And so he had built his own bike, helping out work in it.
Oh, yeah.
Built a nice BMX bike. So here you were, he would have been, let's see, Washington. He would have been probably 14, but he had what probably was about a $2,000 bike. It's like you go somewhere without a bike rack, that's not the type of bike you just want to leave sitting out. And that was 20 years ago, right?
Right. Yeah.
But so what do you do in those situations? He worked hard, got the nice bike. It meant everything to him. But then if there's not a rack, I guess I'm just not going in.
Yeah. When if you remember your first bike, I mean, that was a huge key to freedom when you were a kid. It just meant a lot. And you talked about how it extends your world. The other thing that we talk about with public transportation is the last mile. We have public transit in Nampa. It's not terrific. It's pretty limited on a route, and it doesn't pick you up in your neighborhood. So you can get to a bus, but to get to that bus stop, I know people that have had to walk 30 minutes or an hour, and we give them a bike, and it cuts that time down tremendously, so that then they can put their bike on the bus and get to Boise and get to work.
Yeah.
Or get out to the Treasure Valley Marketplace if they work out there or whatever. And bike parking is an issue for people who are employees as well. Mm-hmm. And I would hope, but I don't know. I've never been out to Amazon. I don't know if they provide bike parking or not. But I know people that get bikes from us that are mostly riding them to work. So I sure hope those employers are providing a place to park.
Yeah.
Or they're going to lose their employee.
Yes.
That person won't be able to show up tomorrow because their bike got stolen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's another aspect I'm curious on. We talked about, starting point at your house and destination, but I'm curious the path in between, maintenance of that. Because at least in like Idaho, goatheads are a major problem. So
I was afraid you would bring that up. The evil goathead, yes. I think, I don't know when, but I ran a Goatheads campaign for a couple of years, 2-3 years. We raised some money and got gift cards from Flying M, things like that. And a couple of summers in a row, we had people bring in goat heads. We had a scale there at Farmers Market, and we had them bring us goat heads, and we weighed them, and we kept tally, and we did collect about 2,000 pounds 2 summers in a row.
Goodness.
And when they bring them in, we'd, trade them for a gift card or whatever, give them some incentive there. This past summer, we had a couple of cleanup days on some pathways, some sections of the trail here in the city, where they were growing out onto the trail. Mm-hmm. The best way to get rid of them is to just physically pull them up. The city of Nampa has spray, and they spray in that window of time when the weed has a yellow flower. And if you spray during that key time of development, you can eradicate them with spray. But they only have so much spray. They don't have a lot of employees for manual operation like that, so they do what they can where they can. Mm-hmm. They tend to also try to plant grass seed and keep encouraging the grass, because we all know that goat heads tend to grow where nothing else is. So we did a cleanup on a couple of places last summer with a couple of volunteer groups, and I think it was 7 or 8 bags in one spot and 7 or 8 bags in another, but I didn't weigh them. And the Parks Department is thrilled, and I actually, on our website, we have a link to a reporting tool. So you can go to that Google Doc form and let us know where they are. If you know the homeowner, whatever, that helps. We can connect with them and say, can we help you take care of these, because they're growing out onto the sidewalk. So we've done that. We have a Stomp Out Puncture Vines campaign Facebook page. So in season, you can let us know there what's going on, and we'll partner with whoever's reporting it and try to help you get them taken care of.
Nice.
Yeah. Beyond that, Rolling H, I know the bike shop in downtown Nampa, one of them. I'm sure Cafferty's, this is true of them too. They have what's called the works, and they will put a heavy-duty tire, heavy-duty tube, and a liner, and sealant in your tires, and that's about all you can do.
Yes.
If you just throw everything you can at the problem, you will have no flat tires when you get out. But I know with kids, they want to ride that dirt hill that's over there, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think one of our first eradication campaigns and projects was in Lakeview Park. There was a BMX track there,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner of Cafferty's at the time had a son who is involved with BMX, and we had somebody in our group that worked for the city of Nampa and got permission to use their equipment, and we redesigned that dirt track, and of course it was covered with goatheads, and so yeah.
Goatheads are a major problem because they survive for, what is it, like a seed can last 7 years or something like that?
I've read 20 to 50.
So they can bury under the soil, and you think you've eradicated them all, and then maybe you till
under the right conditions,
and
here they are. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, you just have to really go after it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also at one point worked as a group with code enforcement. The problem with code enforcement, again, is limited resources in terms of employees and everything. But if you read the letter for code enforcement for weeds, the enforcement tends to kick in when a weed is a certain height. Then you can report it and everything. Well, as you know, goatheads lay close to the ground. They're flat as a pancake. So we said, can we add some educational information to this? Can we create a brochure? And money just became another issue, But I still think the door is open for doing a better job with something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the way I think of goatheads is goatheads are to bike what potholes are to cars. Like the city at some point becomes liable, right, for those potholes damaging people's cars. So I'm curious.
I've never thought of that, but I love that way of thinking. I think that's true. Yeah. When you look at I've had people say to me, well, nobody rides a bike in Nampa. Well, for one thing, you're not looking for them, I think, is why you're not seeing them, because they're there. Oh, yeah. I see them all the time. But you have to create a culture that is welcoming to that. And goatheads are definitely a reason people hesitate to use that. Yeah. I mean, it's very frustrating, and it is definitely a barrier. Yeah.
I rode in a place that was so bad at one point, I didn't even do, the green slime or whatever back a few years ago. I just went for the straight solid rubber tubes, but then those are so heavy.
They're heavy. They're hard on the bike frame itself because it's a hard ride. It's not comfortable.
Yep.
But you do get that desperate that you just go with solid tires.
Yeah.
We see them in the bike shop all the time. Yeah.
I want to say I was in Washington, and so we were out on the Nisqually River. So I was riding down some of the paths, and there was lots of dirt paths, and then I didn't have a separate trick bike and then a dirt bike, or mountain bike type things. You just have the one bike. So it's like, okay, I'm going down in this ditch to jump my bike, but those rubber tires just affect everything so differently. But that was the only thing we could find that worked at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So in 2019, getting back to the history of things, I retired in 2017. The Bike Pedestrian Advisory Group, I left the leadership of that. I stepped back hoping the group would take leadership. And it continued for 2 or 3 years. In the last year, that group has been disbanded. So there is no specific bike pedestrian advisory group anymore for the city of Nampa. But what we do have now is something called the Transportation Advisory Group, a TAG group. And it's a room full of about 20 people. We meet every other month or so, I think. And it is everybody. It is city planners, engineers, public transit, long-range planners, and mostly people that are doing, the road projects. ITD is there. Ada County Highway, not Ada County Highway District quite so much, I don't think, but Nampa Highway District. So it's good to have all of that's a new thing for Nampa, and it's wonderful, I think, to have all of those voices in the room. Mostly it's information sharing, but if somebody shares, I think it has made us more aware of each other. And so when the city is creating a project, they're more aware of, they've got to pay attention to the bike pedestrian master plan, and if there is if there needs to be a crossing there or whatever. And so we don't have that group anymore, but myself and his name is Nathan Appleby. He is a new rep. So the two of us attend those meetings. We're very flexible with our time. He works from home. And I would love it. We would both love it if anybody has concerns or questions or ideas for improvement. If they would contact us, we can share those ideas with the city and see a way to address them. But so that group doesn't exist as an entity anymore. But in 2019, I decided to start the Bike Project. Again, because people were asking us for bikes. And so I did a lot of checking first to see if anybody, I don't believe in reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
Boise has the Bike Project, and they do the big bike giveaway at Christmas. And I helped out with that a couple of years and realized that even when they do allow kids in Nampa schools and Caldwell schools to sign up, the next hurdle is getting those families over to Boise to the event to pick up the bike. And so we helped with that for a while. But that was another motivation, I think, for me to start the Nampa Bicycle Project in 2019. We struggled to find a location. We started fixing bikes with a small group of us out in the grass next to a shed. Got to start somewhere.
Yes.
And again, early on, we realized, and your little nephew and brother-in-law, I think it is, were great. They wanted to raise some money and they wanted to do a project. And we realized early on that we needed to not only give a bicycle to somebody that needed it, but they needed to have the support tools to make that work. Again, another hurdle, is, you've got, somebody gives you a secondhand bike, then what? A lock, even at Walmart, can cost $10, $15, $20 if it's a good one or more. A helmet is another. It's not required in the state of Idaho, but if you're smart in this traffic, you're wearing one. And we were talking about using your bike for getting to and from work.
Lights at night.
You got to have a light, yeah. And we learned there were people getting tickets because they didn't have a light. And we were like, okay, we've got to solve these problems. So we created a support package. We raised money and your little nephew used it as a fundraiser early on, and it was great. So now we're committed to that. Whenever from the very beginning, when we give a bike to somebody, we give them our support package, and it's a backpack with. Now we're doing front and rear rechargeable lights, so they don't have to worry about batteries.
Nice.
It attaches with a rubber strap, so there's no tools required. A pretty good lock. I'm not sure there is any foolproof lock, but a lock that will slow people down for sure.
Yeah.
That is, again, a little detail, but a lock that can be set to a combination of your choice. That's easier than remembering some obscure number or word. And the helmet, if people are interested in using one. Of course, when we give bikes to kids, we automatically give them a helmet.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we just started doing that. We just started, and it's not hard to get bikes donated. Mm-hmm. We are inundated with people that want to donate bikes all the time. They want to see them go to a good cause. There are various levels of disrepair. I did have to finally put a stipulation in there, no plant material, because we get bikes that have been sitting in the backyard in the weeds for a long, long time, and those are pretty much only good for the dump, unfortunately. But if it's been kept in a garage and it's just, a bike somebody's grown out of, and we've got volunteers that can tune them up, and early on, we had trouble finding a shop. We partnered with the Nampa School District and got permission to use a room in their maintenance building in downtown Nampa on 1st Street South. And we operated there for a couple years, even through COVID. We were operating, and then in, this is 4, I think in 22, a couple years ago, they said, we need that space, so we're going to need you to move out. And I thought, how hard can it be to find another space? It took us 2 years to find another place.
Goodness.
Yeah, it took us 2 years. The real estate being what it is right now, it's just office space, workspace, any kind of space is just really at a premium.
Yeah.
And I have never been interested in growing to the size of Boise Bike Project and raising that kind of money. Mm-hmm. I'm more interested in just keeping it manageable.
Yeah.
So there's limits to that, and one of the limits is we don't have any paid employees. I don't pay myself, and we also can't afford a lot of money for rent. We have insurance, but we do have 501c3 nonprofit status. So anybody that donates to us, it's tax deductible. So we are able to raise enough money through a couple of avenues. We had a bike sale last June, and we raised plenty of money to operate all year long. I'm kind of jumping around here, but when we had to close down and get out of that space that the school district had provided to us, and one reason we connected with the school district was that we were giving a lot of bikes to kids that are what are called unsupported youth. They don't have supportive parents. One of the first bikes we gave to anybody was a kid that was working till midnight at Freddy's out on Garrity, and then he would walk home at midnight in his black uniform down Happy Day Road and walk home get up the next morning, go to school, do the whole thing again. I mean, those kids, when they're not supported, they don't have good attendance track records.
Yep.
They're absolutely exhausted. And so we've even had a couple of teenagers we've had to teach how to ride a bike. They didn't even know how to ride a bike, but they needed that bike to get to school and show up. So we've been partnering with the Nampa School District quite a bit, and that's how we ended up being able to rent the space from them, which was very generous of them.
Yeah.
So we looked for 2 years. I was about ready to give up. And then our church had some space that wasn't being utilized for anything else. And we were running a clothing ministry in this other building apart from the church. And the other half of the basement was not being used. And so it was offered to us. And so we're there.
Nice.
That's where we are. And at first I thought, oh, golly, a basement. This is awful. How are we going to deal with bicycles going up and down the stairs? But it's a wide stairwell, and my husband's good with wood. And so he created a gutter that we can ride the bikes. We can roll the bikes up and down the stairs.
Nice.
And get them in and out of the basement. And it's not bad at all. And we have a lot more space, actually, than we had before.
Yeah.
We've got an open house and an annual meeting coming up on the 7th of March. And I want to invite everybody to it. It'll be a Saturday morning at 10. And so everybody's welcome to come to that meeting and that open house, see our bike shop space, and give us all your ideas and connect with some new volunteers even.
Yeah.
So that'd be great.
You mentioned the church, and so that's another thing that comes to mind is I haven't seen a lot of bike racks at churches as I think about it. So I'm curious if there's a way to partner with some of the churches to let's get some bike racks to,
absolutely. Yeah.
You want kids to come in, well, give them a place to park their bikes.
Yeah. How would you suggest is a good way to do that?
Well, I mean, send us to Pastor Nate.
A letter, or we put a bike rack in pretty quickly after we moved into our building across the street, and it's been used a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think I see one at very many churches. Yeah.
I think that's a hard thing to sell. You almost have to talk to them in person. You send a letter, and oftentimes people don't take the time to fully engage with it. Okay. You have to have those networking connections, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But
some cities have found a way to do a bike rack partnership, and they will go halves with an organization, a business, whatever. If you'll put up $500, we'll put up $500. And we don't have anything like that, but I'd love to see it. If somebody out there can figure out a way to do it, I think it'd be great. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And we could contract probably with a bike rack company. And then installation's another issue. You got to make sure it's installed properly so that people don't walk off with load up the rack and the bike. You want your bike securely attached to something that's not movable.
Yeah. Well, that leads me to another quick question going back. You give some of the kids locks, but I think a lot of people don't know how to lock a bike correctly. Right. You'll see a lot of people run it just through the wheel spokes, but they have the quick detach wheels where it takes 2 seconds. Someone pops it and, okay, I'll buy a new rim. And
good point.
So it's how do you educate people on some of those things that people don't typically think about? Because they think they're being safe and protecting their bike, but they don't know, go through the frame itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we have a chance, when we give a bike to someone, we talk about that. We don't always have that opportunity. We have educational information. We do a Fix-A-Flat event at the public library.
Nice.
And we were instrumental in getting the bike racks put in when the public library was built, and asking for extra racks even out on the street, because we knew that was going to be a popular place for people to go. And when we couldn't get it in the in the parking garage, we said, okay, then put it out here. And so, that's a very good point. And it's something people need to be aware of. Yeah, run that cable. And we try to give people a cable that's long enough to run through that front wheel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on around the frame and then around whatever structure you can reach.
Yeah.
That's secure. Mm-hmm.
The other last question, I guess, that came to mind was, I want to say it's off the Boise River, right where, is it Ann Morrison? Right where everybody's going to tube. Mm-hmm. They have bike repair stations that's just like those publicly accessible. Here's the common tools. They're all attached, so you can't walk off with the tools. But are there places people, like we could get more of those out? Like it'd be handy maybe at the high school, maybe they have a place like that out front, or even if a church right there. Like, what are things like that people could do that would help support, but that also might be likely to bring people to their location? Because you can think of that as kind of here's a service that we're offering. It's going to bring people to us, but we're also helping them.
Yeah. I love it. About 15 years ago, we got a grant and we put in 4 or 5 of those in the city of Nampa. We put one at the rec center, one at the Lakeview Park swimming pool, one in front of the public library. That's 3, I think, one out on a trail somewhere, I think. All of them were vandalized and destroyed.
Goodness.
All of them. And I don't know why we can't have nice things in Nampa. Even the one at Lakeview Park swimming pool was the first one to be destroyed. The nozzles for pumping the bike tires up were yanked off. It was really disappointing. And I think the Parks Department agreed to fix one of them a couple of times, but then they just got tired of trying to keep them in repair. And I've had people send me wonderful pictures of these bike repair stations. There's a couple of companies that make them, and they're all pretty similar. They're a post that can't be destroyed. They're very sturdy cables with tools on them. And the whole thing works as a repair stand. You can put your bike up on it. It's wonderful. Yeah. And I think that I think the key to vandalism, to reducing vandalism, is doing things on the space, putting them in a space where there's a lot of traffic, a lot of eyes on the space, so to speak. But that didn't prove to be true at the one at the public library. I mean, for goodness sake, at the public library, there's people in and out there all the time. It's one of the busiest centers of traffic in the city, and
even it got hit.
Even that one got hit. Yeah, I think there might be some of. I think the one at the rec center might still be in place with some tools on it, but I haven't looked at it in a while, so I don't know about that. But I think at the time anyway, they were about $3,000 a piece. So that's not a lot in terms of finding a grant to install these, but
it's a lot to continuously replace.
It is. And when bike racks are installed, they need to be installed, like I said, in the right location and also in the right way. I've seen bike racks installed up against a wall where you couldn't put the bike tire through the rack.
Yep.
So people need to understand that too. But yeah, those bike repair stations are wonderful. I think they work really well. And they're another way to break down those barriers for people. Encourage them. They see that. They say, oh, if I did get a goathead, if something did happen to my tire, or if I have an issue, there's some help here.
Yeah.
The city is trying to support me in doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. It'd be great. So maybe we need to try it again.
I think it could be great.
Need to find another grant and raise some money and try to put them in again. See how long they last this time. Yeah.
Well, I think we're close to an end here. I wanted to pass it to you. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you'd like to?
Oh, wow. I don't know. Like I said, we've got the event coming up on the 7th of March at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. We'll be partnering with Central Elementary School. They're going to have an event on the 23rd of April, and we're going to be there at their community block party. We're going to have some bargain bikes to sell to families for $10, $20.
Nice.
We have found that's the easiest way to distribute kids' bikes to families, to sell them at a very inexpensive price point, and that way the family has some thought when they decide to do the bike. Because sometimes we have kids come up and we would, allow them to pick out a bike. It didn't cost them anything, and as you listen to the conversation between the child and the parents, you find out they want this bike just because they like the color better than the one they have sitting at home, And so we want to make sure the bikes go to families that really need them.
Yeah.
And definitely if any school, or any social service agency contacts us, that's how people get bikes from us, by the way. I didn't mention that. We like to work through agencies because they've identified a client that would benefit from this and really intends to use it, or a child, a family, maybe is in need. We have in the city of Nampa school system, we have family resource centers. There's one at Iowa. There's one at Central Elementary. And the Hispanic Cultural Center has a family resource center. And any of those family resource centers are welcome to contact us if they identify a family that's in need. Maybe money's really tight right now. They're coming in for food and clothes, and there's a child in the family that's having a birthday, And so we love giving bikes away that way.
Yeah.
Or maybe dad or mom or a teenager in the family needs a way to get to work. And so we give bikes that way. So we work through social service agencies, recovery agencies. Oh, and this is the best part that I didn't even mention. When we closed down in 2022, I think it was, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff, bike parts and everything. And somehow I connected with a fellow who is the commander of the American Legion Veterans Group at the Idaho Department of Corrections. His name is Mark Person. He is amazing. He runs a program called New Path that is a nonprofit. It helps people in the men's prison there, correctional center, when they get out of prison. He helps them with their first day out. And so he has bikes and he gives them away. But also, he made us aware of the fact that there is a group of veterans at the Department of Corrections working on bikes.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's just been the best partnership. It's been wonderful. And these veterans love it. They have, it's just a great way for them to give back to the community and do something constructive with their time while they're there serving their time. And there's other projects among the veterans in this American Legion group. But the downside is that they can only work in good weather because they work outside in the yard. And they each have a cage with all the tools they need in that cage. And they're watched carefully. And they have to abide, obviously, by certain rules with their tools and the things they take off of the bike when they strip it. But there is a guy in there that's in charge of the bike project, and one of the prisoners, and he is super organized, and he's great. And so when we get too many bikes donated, we partner with them by making sure they have bikes to work on. And then once they get them refurbished, they had no way to distribute them, but they wanted to know that they were doing something for the community. So we said, we'll be glad to help with that end of things. So, so they'll bring a load over of refurbished bikes, and we can just give them to a school or to an organization, or we just hang on to them until somebody needs them.
Nice.
And it's been a great partnership. So, and we raise money for their supplies. We make sure they have plenty of tubes and grease and everything that they need to do their job. But it's been a wonderful partnership with them. We just got a nice grant from the Nampa Rotary, too, for $500 to buy bike lights, but also to make sure those guys are supplied with what they need to build bikes. And they turn out some beautiful bikes. They take a lot of pride in their work, and that's been a great partnership, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love hearing about those partnerships.
That. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the way we create the bikes. That's the way we give them away. I used to have a form so that just any individual could come onto our website and request a bike. But since we reopened, we prefer to work through agencies, or to have an individual have a sponsor of some sort. You know, if you have a disabled adult or child or something, contact us. You are their sponsor as a parent or a relative. That's fine. But adults mostly, we'd like to work through recovery agencies and school counselors. We get requests from them. Yeah.
Well, I could probably keep asking questions for centuries, but
I know.
I have one final one.
Yeah.
You mentioned partnering with agencies and sponsors. What all types of things do you partner with? Like, one easy one that comes to mind would be like the Love Inc. program, especially when they're working with the abundant living for people who are learning budgeting and really trying to get on track. I actually, you guys gave me a bike years ago to get to work, and that's what I was riding, and ended up riding in Boise after we moved out there. And I remember that came up because we were in Love Inc. at the time, and we were trying to cut costs for our budget so that we could get back under control. And so the bike was like a huge blessing to us, allowed us to save and put money down on bills. And like, it had a huge impact. I don't know if I ever told you this, but we ended up in the year we were in Love Inc. and in part thanks to doing the bike instead of driving, we paid down like $16,000 and got out from under 2 cars. Like, it was tremendously helpful. But I remember the original suggestion to reach out to you guys came up from Love Inc.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't talk to them a lot, but we certainly contacted them early on at about that time because, like I said, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I didn't want to do something that somebody was already addressing. And Love Inc. has a small group of volunteers that do refurbish bikes, and we offered to help with that, but their mission and kind of, I don't know, we didn't quite align, so we didn't end up going that direction, but they knew about us, and so that's how we ended up. I love hearing that story. We don't always get to hear the stories.
Yeah.
And sometimes these people don't want to be known, they're just out of prison. They're trying to get their life back together. But sometimes that's all a person needs is that one thing, to just help them get on with their life.
Yep.
And if they've got a way to get to those probation appointments, to their counseling appointments, it can make a difference. My personal philosophy is that, and what drives me, I think, most is that I just really feel like, as I've lived in that city that we moved there from, and this one, and traveled around, even to Amsterdam. I didn't ride in Amsterdam, but I did get to, that was kind of on my bucket list. That's the big bike riding city, you know. But when you're in those places, you realize that a city that has figured out how important it is to move people around and to give people a way to get around is a successful community.
Yes.
They recognize that there's more than one way for people, and that it's really crucial, that it's really important. And I think if Nampa can get to that point, it would be great. I think it would change the quality of life.
Yes.
I really do. So that's kind of my mission in life.
It's a great mission.
Yeah. It's a big hill to climb, but it's a good feeling when you hear stories like yours. I appreciate that.
Yeah. We were very appreciative. I still have the bike.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
I remember years ago you said, we're glad to help out. If you ever get to a point you no longer need it, please pass it back so we can bless someone else.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, we haven't. We've gone on bike rides now with our daughter.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish our organization was bigger. That's what I'm looking forward to on the 7th, inviting people to that open house to revitalize the group and just reach out. There's been a lot of new people moved to Nampa in the last few years, and I think there's probably people out there that would love to be part of this kind of initiative, that are maybe sitting back saying, how come this isn't happening, or how come that isn't happening?
Yeah.
And they can figure out a way to be part of the solution. But so I would love to connect with new people that are wanting to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask. I know I said it was one last question, but this one is to wrap it up. This podcast kind of goes out broadly, right? Not just Nampa. So if people were curious to model after what you're doing, maybe start something like this in their own city, or if they wanted to donate or contribute or support in some way, where can they find you and do that?
I love that. Very good question. We have a website, bikenampa.org, and our email is bikewalknampa@gmail.com. There are 3 ways people can contribute. On our website, there's a donate button, so you can use that donate button. We take credit cards through PayPal or whatever, and that's where you can donate cash. We also have a link there to purchase from our gift list on Amazon. We have a list of supplies, materials, bicycle grips, locks, things like that. And if you shop at Fred Meyer, there is a way to link your rewards card to a charity. So every time you shop at Fred Meyer, you don't even have to do anything. Just shop at Fred Meyer and use your little key tag or whatever, your rewards account, put in your phone number. But you have to go in, and the QR code or the link that I've got, I think, on our website takes you to the page on Fred Meyer's page and tells you how to do that process, how to link your rewards account to Fred Meyer. So It's not a whole lot, but it's another way we can get some money.
Yeah.
Get some support. How to start a bike project or a bike co-op like this? I think number one, you need a partner in terms of a location. You need a place that is warm in the winter and cool in the summer. It's comfortable for volunteers, because what you're going to end up getting is older people that are retired that want a way to give back, and that's fantastic. And And you want those people, but it's got to be comfortable.
Yes.
So you got to find a comfortable place to work, decide how much time you want to put into it. And I'm not kidding, just put out the word and bicycles will show up. I'm not kidding. Oh, man. We've had the 2 county landfills contact us all the time. Come get these bikes. They set them aside for us, so you don't have any trouble getting used bikes. That's easy. And then you do need some funding of some sort.
To fix them up.
All you have to do, really, is get some volunteers in there that know what they're doing with bicycles. If they don't know what they're doing, then partner with a local bike shop if there is one, or maybe a place like Shields or a sporting goods store of some kind that has a bike repair section in the building, and ask them if they'll come out and do some training.
Yeah.
So you need some bike mechanics that are good enough to tune up bikes, to do some of the technical stuff. But after you've changed about 5 flat tires, you know how to change a flat tire. And it's hard, but you got to have a place comfortable to work and volunteers to do it. And then you have to decide how you're going to distribute them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think of the different ways we've tried it. I think working with social service agencies is a good way to do it. And with school districts in your community, with churches. Yeah. And so, yeah.
Well, awesome.
Thank you for asking. Those are good questions.
I
hope
have
this
so
helps.
many more.
I hope this helps somebody.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I have so many more questions.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have
never enough time.
We'll have phase 2 or something after we do something else later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for asking me. It's been really enjoyable to retrace that journey and realize how long I've been at this. I didn't realize it until I sat down and looked back through the minutes and the notes I've got on my shelf. But it's been a fun journey.
It shows your passion for it. Time flies when you're having fun.
It does. It does. Yeah. And we've had great weather this winter. There's no excuse not to be on my bike. I'm still riding indoors mostly, but on my trainer. But yep.
You are able to get out now.
Yes. I live only a mile from where I worked. I was really lucky, really fortunate in that regard. So my rule was 40 degrees. As long as it was 40 degrees or warmer, I would ride my bike to work. Nice. When it was colder than that, sometimes I would walk because the wind chill can be pretty tough.
Yeah. I think my rule was as long as there's not ice or snow on the ground.
Yeah.
I could deal with the cold, but the ice and snow, it just...
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that came from when I rode a motorcycle.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can get used to just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you think, I know some people say, oh, it's really too cold to ride a bike. And yet they'll drive up to Bogus and snow ski. So,
yep.
It's all in what you're used to. And you have to dress right.
Yes.
So that's for another chapter.
Yes.
Another time. Another podcast.
Well, thanks for watching the Brent and Peck podcast.